Oh, you have got to be kidding me. So it turns out that reincarnated beings from other planets don't really joke around when it comes to making fun of them. So rather than face pure annihilation by a death threat via an email, let's go ahead and do the review that is promised by the threat. So anyways, this is Jeff, the Card Critic, here to bring you a review of the Universal card game. Yes, this is a bit more indie than what I normally review, but let's take a look at it nonetheless. This is a what's known as a competitive card game. What do they mean by it being competitive? Well, turns out the game is actually free. Yes. So by free, I mean you have to print it out yourself, but hey, they're nice little things, right? So yeah, this is the Universal card game. It is made by Starcat Products. Wonder if you can even see that there. There we go. Very good camera. So yes, this is the game made by Starcat Products. It's called the Universal card game. It is a competitive card game. What they mean by competitive is that the game is free. It is free to play, not free to play, pay to win, but only free to play. Yes, the only way you can play this game is by going onto their website, www.starcatproducts.com, and printing the card sheets out, cutting them out, and making your own. The person that gave these to me were lucky enough to make me some nice decks and everything, given that she's a reincarnated interplanetary magical girl being that wants to kill me for some reason, because I made fun of some old card game that was made eons ago. I did her no justice, but it turns out I am the bad guy here. But nonetheless, I'll be the man about this, and I will do a review on this horrible game that she has given me to look at and make fun of, like we always do on the lovely show, The Card Critic. So what makes the Universal card game different from other card games? Well, to begin with, it emulates a lot of mechanics and stuff from other card games. It adds their own little spice and flavor to it. So, like with many card games, you have the standard resource, known as just resource in this game. For some reason, it's called a basic money, which is very magic-like, and it has the standard, use this card, add one of whatever, money, they're both called money for some reason. That's very confusing. You have pretty standard, some Magic the Gathering style artwork on them. Oh, we all kind of know how these work. You play a whole bunch of these in your deck. You always never draw them when you need them, or you draw way too many of them when you don't need them. It's a way for it to have the in-deck resource, allow you to play the cards that are given in your deck. And the way the cards do the money they generate allow you to play the money cost at the top of the card. Come on, buddy, let's focus. Let's take it out of the sleeve as usual. So the Spawn Replicator here costs $4 or 4 money in the game. It is a character, which is pretty self-explanatory. One of the main card types in the game is the character card. And they have one value in the corner here, which we'll talk about later. And a stability number down in the bottom right-hand corner. But this is the standard card you would play. They would have their money cost up in the top left, and a character and character type for what it is. Pretty subpar indie artwork going on here. So in addition to the basic resources, basic monies, whatever they're called, you have the non-basic monies. Wow, they got so creative with these card types. So the non-basic money is basically a money card that has abilities beyond the standard resource, which means you only can run so many copies of them in your deck, which we'll talk about shortly. But it has the card name, very much better artwork on this one. And this card, unlike the regular basic money, has a lot more abilities on it, so that's pretty neato. We like that. What other card types do we have here? So far everything looks very Magic the Gathering. It looks very standard of arc system. The standard stuff we play, you have effects, which are your standard spell cards. They have costs, and some of them have abilities on them that you do other things. But yeah, this is all pretty standard so far. The artwork definitely varies though in quality. I don't really much care for that. But yeah, it looks very Magic. But one thing that always really stuck out with me were the epic characters that you can play. And the pitfall effects. So epic characters are basically, that game I always talk about and like all the time, Yu-Gi-Oh? Well yeah, epic characters are Yu-Gi-Oh cards, basically. The way they work is, let's see if we can get the ability on here. Epic. This card can only be played with its epic ability. If you do play it, you cannot play other character cards this turn. Use this ability only during your wake-up phase. So what this means is that with epic characters, is once a turn, you can actually play an epic character before you would draw a card, which makes them a little bit harder to use, but they don't have any of this in-deck resource stuff you have to worry about. So it emulates Yu-Gi-Oh! So what you actually can do in this game, which is really, really cool, is you can put Yu-Gi-Oh! Versus like a Magic or Arc System style deck, because this game plays a lot like the Arc System. And there's also in the game these things called pitfall effects. Pitfall effects are basically traps and spells that are from Yu-Gi-Oh! So let's see, let's get this in frame here. Come on. There it goes. Engage. What an engage ability is when the card is put face down, which there's no back. But the card's put face down, you have to meet its engage ability here. So an effect or an ability an opponent's source would can an epic character you control, and I discard a card. So can is, I guess, destroy or something. That's kind of silly. And then it has, once you do the engage, you play the cost for it, which was a discard a card, and something would can. Wasn't it like slay or destroy or dispose? That'll be a lot better words to use. But when it flips face up, you nullify an effect or ability that would can an epic character. Why does it always can? I can do this. I can do that. I don't care if you can do it. What's the card do? That's kind of confusing. But yeah, these things stay down. Then when the engage is met, you can flip them up, and you can actually use the ability that it says on the card. So that's really, really, really cool. There's another card type in here. Let's see if we can find one of them. Let's see. This is the music we play when we don't know what we're looking for. So in Magic the Gathering, there are cards called Planeswalkers. I'm going to splice in a picture here, do some voodoo magic with some editing. But in Magic the Gathering, there are cards called Planeswalkers. Every turn, the Planeswalker can get loyalty counters based on one of their abilities, and then he can use another ability where he will lose loyalty, and it does something really, really awesome. The difference between these and the Universal card game is that, as usual, they have the cost up in the corner and the name here, and they have their power, which is how much health they have when they're fighting for you. So these cards, what they actually do is they act as a shield for your deck. So instead of being an option to attack, the opposing player always attacks the player, you, the guy with the Shadow Walker, and they have to kill off your Shadow Walker first. So that's one major difference with these over Planeswalkers. In addition, on the bottom here, get in focus. Alright, you have Assimilate +1. What that means is that this ability actually replaces your draw step. So instead of drawing a card, you will do what this card says. So instead of drawing a card, I'll reveal the top card of my deck and put the card face down in my active zone, which is basically in play. And it becomes an X power gizmo at power equal to the revealed card's total money cost. So nowhere on there does it say actually draw a card. So that's one thing to keep in mind, is that not all the Shadow Walkers allow you to draw cards anymore. Many of them do, but this one doesn't. And then there's Retribution. So you see it says Assimilate +1. What that means is you get a +1 assimilation counter on the Shadow Walker. And then you can Retribution up to and equal to the amount of assimilation counters you have on the Shadow Walker. So Miss Mina Holly here, she has a Retribution -1 because we already assimilated, where I can draw a card for each gizmo I control. Well, that's pretty cool because I get a gizmo from her assimilate ability. So one thing to keep in mind here too is that you only can Retribution and assimilate once a turn, and the assimilation is mandatory. So if it does something you don't really like, then you gotta do it. It's just a drawback of playing the Shadow Walkers. That's really a lot of the different card types in the Universal card game. So the other type of pitfall effect is Miss Lamford of the Brave here. It has the ability called Bide. So let's get this in focus here. Alright, so Bide, what it does at the beginning of your wake up phase, which is the beginning of your turn, you put a delay counter on this card. When this card has 8 or more, so it has Bide 8 or more delay counters on it, play it and use this ability only during your wake up step. So what it means by play it is like instead of being a pitfall, it actually comes into play as a whatever it says down on here. So these things are kind of confusing. They can be written a lot better. It's one of the major drawbacks I have with this game, and it gets a little bit frustrating. So what do they mean by competitive card game? What makes a competitive card game different than a regular trading card game or collectible card game, CCGs as they are known as? Well, the universal card game actually uses what's called a stability system. Yes, a stability system. What do you mean stability system, Card Critic? Well, a stability, on the very bottom right-hand corner of every one of these cards, there's what's known as a stability number. It has the name of the set, which is Neo, the Neo beginning, and Rare, which is the stability of the card, and the card number. Well, every card has a different stability. And the stability actually limits how many copies of the card that you can have in your deck based on the name. So I only can have 2 copies. I can only have 2 copies of Bubba's Legacy here. See? Neo, the set that it's from. Rare is the stability. And card number 13. So yes, Bubba's Legacy, I only can run 2 copies of it, where cards like Resource here have a stability of stable. I don't know why they gave the Resource stable, because it's a card you can play unlimited copies of. It must be in the rulebook or something. So y'all know I've been praising this game too much, right? You know I'm going to need to talk about some of the bad stuff in it. So let's talk about some of the bad stuff. To begin with, why is the artwork so varying in quality? Why are the character types so stupid? I mean, what's a house? Charlotte, this is a house? I mean, why are the character types so stupid? If you're going to make a game and call it the Universal Card Game, you need to make it universal. So calling stuff like chick, which some people could be really, really offended by, and I don't know, we've got chicks in the game, so let's make another card. Let's make dudes. Yeah, I'm serious. I'm holding this in front of you. They called the card type dude. That is so dumb. I mean, why would you call them dudes? It just blows my mind. You have all this cool universal stuff, and you're making it universal for multiple people to use, and you call things dudes and chicks and girls, and geez, man, like, what were they thinking with this stuff? And look at this. These guys are called insanes. It's spelt wrong. Why is it spelt wrong? You know, at least you need to proofread some of this stuff, guys, before you go and release it out for everyone to get. I mean, wow, let's make this game. We're going to call it a competitive card game. It's not even spell right. Awesome, man. Wow. Great. You know, then the artwork is just so different. Like, you know, Lanford looks pretty good. You know, I kind of like how this card looks. And then you have the bubonic dollar red, and that looks pretty awesome. You know, I can't really complain. But what's this? What's going on here? Thing of many abilities. More like thing that needs to learn how to draw. Wow. What the heck is this giant turd coming out of his butt? Is this made in paint? Who drew this? Oh, yeah. But look, it looks like it's a completely different card game. Like, some of the pictures, like, they vary so much in quality. Like it's hard to tell that all the cards are from the same game because there's so much variation in it. It's crazy. You know, they really need to work on making the cards look universal. Another thing to talk about is, I mentioned can earlier. Like, you can target character. There has to be a better way to say that. Do I have one that actually... So, let's look at this card. It's called Evil Z-Deck. Cost 4, action effect, which means you only can play it only during your turn. Okay, you may take 4 damage instead of paying this card's money cost. Okay, pretty cool. Can target character. Well, what does it do? It can target a character? Don't all cards that have targets be able to target characters? Like, can't, like, oh, can. It has a K on it. Can. Does can mean destroy or slay? Why doesn't it say something like slay or decimate? Or I don't understand why the lingo is so stupid. And like all these dragons, like the Sharvins as they're called, they have like such stupid types like Yard Sharvin and what the heck, man? I mean, the names are pretty funny. They feel very Yu-Gi-Oh. But he has zero the what's up with the words, guys? Like, what does that even mean? Onzor? That's the exclamation point on the end of it. And let's look at Miss Helen again here. Bracket for the camper. What does camper mean? She likes to camp? The abilities don't make any sense. Like, they're trying to go for, like, with the super serious art style, but there's like paint pictures, and then stuff has Onzor and camper, and wow, I mean, I'm dumbfounded at how stupid some of the terminology is. And I mean, look at this card. You can barely see it. Like, what's going on here? Oh, it's a guy holding a card. That's cool. Oh, there you go. That actually looks better on the camera than it does with my eyes. I don't understand. And why are they making players go online and have to cut out cards and print them, and there's no order to them at all? Like, when you go on the site to get them, they're completely random order. There's no uniformity or anything to it. It makes no sense at all. And it's just, it's horrible, to be honest. I mean, as a critic, I don't like tearing into indie stuff. I try to stick to the grade A, the made by big shot people, which literally make crap sometimes, but just as indie stuff. And people look down upon, oh, don't get onto the indie guy or whatever. But wow, guys, this might be like the lowest rated game I'm gonna do a review on. I mean, I'd rather play Star Quest and the Arc system over this crap. I mean, wow. And there's no way to play it, like, at all. I mean, at all on the computer. I mean, why, if it's free, why not just make something simple on the computer and let people play it? And that's what you do, because the exposure is everything when it comes to stuff that's free. And there's no way to do it. There's nothing. Why? Why is there no way to play the game on the computer? It's amazing. So, in conclusion, I mean, wow, this game could really be something. I think it needs a couple of years more development, a little bit more money put into it to get the artwork a lot better. The layout and the terminology just need some work, because the keyword abilities on the cards make no sense. I cannot stand it. It's terrible. Like, why does it say can? It needs to be slay or destroy or decimate or something, some other word that means something significant to the game that won't confuse players. And the cards don't need to be called chicks, dudes, and girls and Sharvan. Make something cooler up than Sharvan. Like, they're dragons. Why don't you call them like a Draconin? That sounds really neat and unique, and they don't really look like regular dragons, so that makes sense to give them a different name. And on the Shadow Walker, why are they called Shadow Walkers? That makes no sense. Call them something different. It's a different card from the source material you're making. Get them something, call it like a Shadow Master. It's the Master of the Shadows, and like, why is it so confusing? I mean, there's things that are good, like, there's only one stat for fighting. Now, that's pretty good. It makes fighting easier, but then you have to deal with, like, Onzor and Camp Zor and Butt Zor and whatever, and a Heck Zor. Man, it's just, goodness gracious. It's so bad. So, thanks for watching this video, everybody. Check us out on www.starcatproducts.com. I have got the website updated for the most part. It needs a lot more work still, but it's getting there. And check out the new version of Universal Card Game. This was a April Fool's joke. I have fixed almost everything I've talked about in this video.